What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Undrunken Podcast. I'm your host, Courtney, and I want you to join me as I talk with real people and have super gritty conversations about their journeys to becoming undrunken. So let's go. Dump the drink because it's time to get this party started. Welcome, y'all. This is Nene, and I am here with my brother, Benjamin. And welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm very excited to chat with you. So let's start with how long it's been since you've drank alcohol.
I would say it was probably when were we in Encinitas? If it was late March, it was probably late March.
Okay.
Yeah. So quite a while well, not by some standards, but yeah. So and it's been some of the best months of my life so far. So.
What led you to just being done with alcohol?
Well, I think honestly it would have been, there was definitely a shift around that right after my first psychedelic ceremony. To be completely honest, yeah, it was just, I just sort of felt that what I was looking for in that wasn't really feeding, like alcohol wasn't really feeding any of that anymore. Perhaps with alcohol, I wanted to fit in, be more cool, be a part of the crowd, or I don't know, be more of the charismatic me, which I think ultimately it just went in the opposite direction. And
How so?
well, because it became this like crutch where it's like, it's not as if I would say that I wasn't an alcoholic, but it becomes, the alcohol itself becomes like, okay, now I associate that with any kind of social event or whatever. So then now there's a fear and an attachment to, oh, what am I going to be like if I'm not on that? Because I definitely I fit in well when I was when I was drinking. So there was kind of a letting go, or allowing myself perhaps to just be with to be who in what I am, even in the face of like, oh, am I cute enough? Am I handsome? Am I the right energy enough, or just maybe it's all okay?
Yeah. So March, you were living in New York at the time.
I was.
Yeah, which has a pretty big nightlife scene.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that was kind of the beginning of the end for me in New York. Living out there was actually, yeah, like that's 100% what it was. There was New York is a very drunk city for sure, and everything, so much of that city is associated with drinking. And my friends there, they drink in a way that I feel like nobody else does in America. It's just so aggressive. Even if they're not an alcoholic, they're like trying to be or something. I don't know what the deal is. But hey, and then what I realized is it just wasn't, it just wasn't for me, because I mean, it was always so like, the experience felt so poisonous the next day, the days after.
The hangover.
Oh yeah, like so just so distant from my body, from my mind, from my ability to think, to actually connect with somebody.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we should mention that we're out in the desert right now, at the tail end of an amazing weekend of ceremony, and 100% the opposite, 100% connection. Whereas, like you were saying, those hangovers really did, I think you nailed it. Like, it was just such a disconnect physically. You don't even want to be in your body.
Yeah. I think it was absolutely that, the disconnection with body. And then especially I guess that on one more last thing on the New York part is I was just so I I was creating a system where I was getting more and more isolated, from that, and but I didn't want to like give up on that newfound like honor and respect for myself.
You said you created a system?
Well, the system would have been that all my friends there were those that drank, those that partied, and there wasn't really like a connection outside of that. It was so based in that kind of level of consciousness, that low frequency, that if I'm not drinking, if we weren't drinking, we weren't seeing each other. And so that was the system. So again, that's the end of New York, and loved in New York, but I'm also so happy to be out here in the desert after the ceremony, as you said.
So the drinking ending with some psychedelic experience. Why is that?
I think the psychedelics themselves were, fed me in a way, kind of nourished me in a way that perhaps I was attempting to get nourished through drinking and partying. And so that, like, once I was out of those ceremonies and it integrated my experience, I no longer really felt like I needed to, like, try to pluck the low hanging fruit of nourishment, because I got the right stuff, the core stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because this is a big part of your path and also your current life, right? So you are one of the co-founders of Field Guide 9. Um, talk to me about this. What is Field Guide 9?
Well, I'm so happy you asked that question. I mean, Field Guide 9 is it's ultimately like it's a focus in on the pre and post work of psychedelic experience, and we include the ceremony as well. But what we found in the community of psychedelic therapies is there's just not, unfortunately, we feel enough focus on pre and post integration processes of these experiences, and in what it leaves people feeling. They get so opened up and so raw and so vulnerable from the ceremony. Yep, it feels them so it leaves them out in the cold in a certain way, when they aren't, like, if their hand isn't held back into their lives, because we, unfortunately, for better or worse, we don't, many of us, at least out here in the United States, don't live in the jungle,
Right.
and don't and we live in the systems that we live in, and we want Field Guide 9 is guiding people into those systems in a way that integrates those medicines the best way possible.
Yeah. I think the plant medicine is beautiful, all of them. You talked about the systems of like society. I really think alcohol is a big one of those. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that I think it's absolutely a part of it. It keeps people in. I absolutely believe that it keeps people in the frequency of the system, the everyday realm and the everyday system that we have, because it's really hard to move out of the depressive sides of alcohol, or the hangover side. Like, it becomes this thing that melds in with the humdrum, and you forget the spiritual. How it's so hard to be in touch with the spiritual side of things when we're numb like that.
Yet they call them spirits.
Yeah, I know.
What?
Yeah, fucking unfortunate name. I think it doesn't. They're taking the spirits out of you, maybe. Who knows? Or blocking them.
Did you feel numbed? with alcohol?
Yeah, I did. I felt like it was taking me further away from myself, which was something weird because I'm actually starting to like myself more so in
Yeah.
turning 30 and whatnot. I have a newfound respect for. Why would I want to dull
Right.
this gift? You know.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I would really love, um, part of what I love about the collecting stories and journeys with
Mm-hmm.
Undrunken is there's just so many paths that are possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you and Beth both um, have shared that through plant medicine, it's almost like you grew a distaste for alcohol. And
Mm-hmm.
you have a beautiful mind and way of speaking about the science of the plant medicines. And I would love if you could share with the people listening
Oh, thank
some
you.
of that, like just kind of drop some knowledge bombs on us.
Well, um, I've only, it's only probably, stuff that amazing writers and researchers have written before, and it's just I'm taking from them, much of what I read into is the beautiful work of Dr. Rick Strassman, who is the writer of DMT, the Spirit Molecule, and the Psychedelic Handbook. The latter of which came out in 2022. But the psychedelics in general, the science. I could start first with discussing a little bit of the science of what happens with alcohol, which is like the exact opposite,
Yeah, let's talk about
because I
that.
think that helps to contextualize those medicines. Is that with alcohol, it for anybody that has diagnoses of ADHD or OCD or anything like that, it makes symptoms like those worse almost immediately. Even
Mm,
after like one drink in a week, you'll see lowering levels of serotonin, of dopamine in the brain. And but the thing about what's so cool about psychedelics is that it increases in many of these psychedelics, it increases those levels, at least in the short term, the levels of serotonin, which of course increase um, satiety, and then dopamine, and many of these and oxytocin, and many of these other chemicals. But it does so in a way that lasts in a prolonged fashion. That's like kind of nourishing to the brain. So it's a little bit simplified, but I don't
yeah.
know. Hopefully that
Well, I'll
helps.
definitely link those books
Yeah.
for our listeners because I picked up the psychedelic handbook after you told me about it, and uh, I've read like one page.
Right.
But here I am with you in another
Mm-hmm.
plant medicine ceremony, and I've seen this do amazing work with people. I felt it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what What do you think it would be the best way for somebody to learn about this if they're interested in exploring plant medicine and
Mm-hmm.
ceremony?
um Yeah, well, I think a wonderful place to start is perhaps the psychedelic handbook that we had just mentioned. I think that that's just so, like, I felt so much safer with these medicines because the major ones that we have access to in modern times are in that book, and it's spoken about in such a way that's not too complicated and also not too abstract or simple. So you're getting
It
the
doesn't read
science
like
and
a
yeah,
stereo manual.
right, which is just so refreshing, because we can get into too much science in all of that. But where other places that they can start is, of course, they can join our Friday email list. We definitely write things about that at Field Guide 9 if they want. Or there's plenty of other amazing books out there, and we've all heard of the How to Change Your Mind, Michael Pollan. And then um, you know there's uh, there's definitely different books on ayahuasca and whatnot, and just amazing stuff out there that just.
One of the things that your co-founder in Field
Mm-hmm.
Guide 9, Beth, shared was that the founder of AA
Mm-hmm.
actually created the program after a psychedelic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know about this?
I do know about that.
Yeah. Can you share more?
Well, all I can ask is I wonder why he didn't tell everybody. Like I'm curious.
It was at a point in at least the American civilization that it became illegal.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because I think it was like 50 years ago, and it's really only been. I mean, you would probably know better than I in recent years that you can have access to these in a safe, non-recreational manner. So I kind of want to explore this a little bit because with your journey, when was the first time you had alcohol?
Oh, geez. When in terms of the first time I had a sip of alcohol, well, probably in church at some point, the blood of Christ or whatever. But I think I didn't start like actually, drinking like, going with the friends and stuff until I was maybe. It's pretty late at it. I was for my for some like 17. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it was definitely like 17 years old. And
high school parties.
Yeah, it was high school parties, and it absolutely didn't help with any of the insecurities at all, like that I thought it would. It didn't. It didn't give anything back to me, like, for the most part. So.
Did you ever experiment with psychedelics recreationally?
Yeah, like I did, and almost kind of regretfully so, because there's such powerful compounds that really rapidly expand consciousness, and it's almost something in which it's ineffable to really say this, but I'll give it an attempt. They expand consciousness so much it's hard to really describe it all, like what's happening. It really it defies logic and enters into the realm of imagination and creativity, but um, that can be remarkably terrifying especially in a recreational context where the situations aren't safe, and we're around people that may not have the best will for us, or don't understand us, or don't love us, or these things. Psychedelics almost naturally cause our psyches to reach towards our wounds and attempt to heal them. Which is a miraculous thing, but something that requires tremendous safety
and guidance.
Yeah.
I love the work that Field Guide 9 is doing. I've done, I believe with Beth, possibly you as well. I've done the medicine and the ceremonies, both with and without the integration work that you are doing, and it is night and day. It's in a way that I don't think is helpful, almost like, okay, here you have this beautiful experience, bye.
Yeah.
Read a book.
Right.
And that's I don't feel like it fosters the depth of the possibilities that this medicine holds for us, whereas the pre-work and the post work really does. It nurtures it. Like you, I don't think it was a very good idea to experiment recreationally. I didn't have good experiences. And so when Beth called and was like, hey, you want to do this? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
And even, can we share what we did this weekend?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So we did an ayahuasca ceremony. And again, when Beth called, I was like, yeah, and then I kind of forgot about it. And then it was like almost time to go. And I was like, oh, I should get a ticket. And I had a lot of nervousness around it. And then I saw you. And you walked in the door, and there was such an incredible shift in you from when I saw you in 6 months ago now. What do you think that was about? Like, can you share more?
Yeah, I can. I think it was just there's a part of me that I I wasn't I wasn't loving for so long, and there's a part of me that had been swimming upstream in my life for so long and feeling that I needed to fight on all sorts of stuff and not accepting who I am. And as soon as I started to accept who I am, that was giving love back to myself. And perhaps what you felt was just the love that I had given myself, that I wasn't carrying as much of a burden anymore.
Oh, that's beautiful. You definitely had a shift in your energy. Your vibe was totally different. And I remember when I saw you last telling you, like, I think you need to get out of the city. That anger, yeah, you're in New York City. It's a very, very charged city.
For some people, I wish them so much joy and happiness there if it's for them. But for me, it was the toilet vortex, which I'll credit that term to a good friend of mine. But it's just there's so much going on and so much movement and people moving in and moving out that it almost feels as if it doesn't have as much of an identity. And I know people in New York are going to be like, "Fuck this guy," saying that, but hey,
you gotta say it like a New Yorker. Fuck this guy.
But it's like for me, it's okay. It's I don't have to be. There's nothing or nobody I have to be. Like it's.
But you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have definitely, I think, bloomed or blossomed is the only really like the word that I could use to describe it. Like, I've known you for some years now, and uh, yeah, it's been a beautiful transition to watch and be part of. And I'm curious because you are turning 30.
Oh, I'm 30.
You're 30.
Yeah,
Okay.
June
Okay.
19th is when I turn.
Yeah. Happy belated.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to your dirty 30s. It's time to get gritty, baby.
I'll play in the mud. I'm happy for
it. At 30, do you think you'll ever drink alcohol again? Knowing everything you know now?
Well, I can't. No, I don't think I would. I don't think I'm going to, because it doesn't feel. I mean, I hate to say like commit so far in the future, but I really don't. Yeah, I guess it doesn't serve me in any way.
And that part, I believe wholeheartedly, because I can see it, I can feel it. But you also know the science of it and how toxic and poisonous it is. And I feel like you're one of those people that once you have that knowledge, you can't ignore it.
Right.
Like you're very passionate in the ideas that you have about the world and your experiences. And I just don't see you being that, what's the word, when you hurt yourself?
I don't want to
sadistic.
Yeah. The masochist. Masochist. I don't want to punish myself anymore with things that aren't good for me. And I think that's something that I really gravitated to after these ceremonies that we did together this weekend is with ayahuasca. It was just, little Ben and all the parts of me require so much love, require love that only I can give. And I don't want to put anything in between that anymore.
Really are such a beautiful soul. And I am so grateful that we've gotten to share these journeys. Like this weekend was incredible. The love that I saw you not only give out to everybody in our family, but to yourself was so real and deep. You talked about alcohol being the low-hanging fruit. I mean, brother, you went straight to the top of the fucking tree. Yeah, and you brought us all here. I don't think any of us would have been here if not for you. And that's just such a gift. Certainly not something that I think we would have done for alcohol.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What are some resources that helped you? I mean, I know that part of it was the plant medicine, but when it came to alcohol and understanding it and really ultimately putting it down, was there anything that inspired you or helped?
Yeah, 100% community of people that were striving towards healing themselves as well, and wanting more out of life. It would, because when we do, and we're around people that want to wake up or are awake or whatever, we can, it's inspiring. And they get to reflect back the love that we are and we always were. So it's you that's helped me with this. It's my mother, it's my father, it's the friends that I know are true friends of my soul. Yeah. And I wish that for everybody.
We talked about the blood of the covenant is stronger than the water of the womb, and you have an amazingly beautiful chosen family. I'm part of that.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Yeah.
So many gifts.
Thank you. What are some resources that you think would be helpful for people? I know you shared a couple books. Are there any podcasts? Besides mine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100%. Without any doubt. And then I think I'm a really big fan of Aubrey Marcus's podcast. I have to give a good shout out to him because he's been so deeply involved in the psychonaut community and really being curious about the mind and about healing for a long time, and is well experienced there. I would say that. And there's Andrew Huberman has got some amazing stuff.
The Huberman Lab?
Oh, the Huberman Lab has got some amazing stuff on there. And I also love what he has said about alcohol too. It just fits with everything. But he has said some amazing things both at the conference that I went to with MAPS and then on his podcast. And those are just two, but we could keep going.
You know what? The more gifts that we can share, I think the more lives that can be touched. And if we can just reach one person and share one thing that helps somebody, I think is the best gift.
100%.
Yeah.
Another one that is a pioneer, I think, in the psychedelic game, and in terms of bringing it to the West and making it more normal and accessible for people, was Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
He's a big part of that, and so he's really been on the side of research and focusing in on that stuff, and mad respect for what he's
there's some amazing science about it.
Yes,
like I think there is a perception out there that it's woo woo and I've heard hippy dippy and it's it's all in your mind, and it's like, well, yeah. Actually it is all in your mind.
Been in there?
But to come, I mean, here we are in the desert of California, and it's beautiful, and to go to these beautiful places and have these experiences, and then to have the science that backs it up, gave me a confidence to even talk about it. Like, I'm not ashamed of it, and I think that there's a secretiveness almost that you and the work that Field Guide 9 is doing is kind of blowing away. Like, it doesn't have to be a secret.
Yeah, I really hope it doesn't have to be anymore, because of all the healing I've had and have yet to have, I just want that for everyone. I really do.
Well, you're definitely going to help make that happen with your work, and I can't wait to share links to your website and how to sign up and be part of this amazing work that you're doing at the House of Grace.
Yeah.
At an undisclosed location. Also in a beautiful location though. And it's interesting that, you know, the energy that surrounds the people and the places where these ceremonies happen. I don't know that there's an earthly word for it other than magical. And I don't want to sound woo-woo.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like woo-woo.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know of a better way to say it myself.
Yeah.
Just the place, the experience itself. I mean, ultimately, these psychedelics are tools.
Yeah.
I feel like they're wonderful tools that allow our mind to expand into the realm of self-healing, into realms of consciousness that aren't normally available to us. And I think that way of defining them is quite accepted now. And I'm so happy we've evolved into this new iteration of the psychedelic movement. Maybe we would call it psychedelic 2.0, like where it's not like the Timothy Leary of, like, you know, let's drop you know, let's wear
almost like a religious movement.
Let's fight the government. Like, no, I mean, it's internal. You know, there's no enemy we have to fight here.
When you talk about enemies, I really do think that the alcohol culture is an enemy. And do you think that that this kind of work, the plant medicine, can help people that are struggling with alcohol?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. It can absolutely help with shifting one out of the frequency of themselves that wants to drink and be there. I think that it can give them the space to realize that there is so much joy and abundance in and you don't have to partake in these things that we know instinctually are unhealthy for us if we're really checking inside.
What do you think of the saying, like, well, a glass of wine is good for you?
I think it's false. I think it's horseshit.
Somebody made a lot of money off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not good for. It's definitely not good. You know.
When you're out with friends and or at an event or a situation where drinking is prevalent, how do you navigate that?
That's a really good question, and that's part of perhaps the battle that we have at times when we're out there and we, for whatever reason, we find ourselves there. Hopefully, ultimately, we can move into a space in our lives where we accept the people and the things that are good for us and surround ourselves with that and avoid the things that aren't. But if there's junk food in your refrigerator, there what are we gonna like? What are we gonna do? We push it aside and we say, you know, I'm here for the water and I'm here for this life and not for that.
What do you drink when you're out?
Gosh, I mean, I'll go with a carbonated water and a lemon. If they wanna say some shit about it, they can eat it, and it's totally fine. You know?
What do you say when someone offers you a drink?
I'd say, you know, I'm all right. I'm good. You know, I appreciate you. Thanks for thinking of me. But I'm good right here.
Do people question you for not drinking?
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Well, they'll be like, oh, like, is something wrong?
Actually, like, no.
There's nothing wrong at all. Like, that's a nice projection of yours, but no, everything is totally fine. Like, and I'm.
Well, did something happen?
Yeah, right. And then it's just like, I started to wake up a little bit. Maybe that's the answer. I happened, maybe. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I happened.
I'd
Wow.
make a joke on it. I don't know, something to that effect.
Has anyone given you a really hard time?
How would we constitute a really hard time with that?
Like really pressured you?
Oh no, no. I kind of, I think it's because perhaps. Well, actually, no. I take that back. Yeah. There's in for that person, and is a good friend of mine. I'm not as connected with him anymore. And I love the guy and whatnot, but it's always, for whatever reason, he's really good at like sneaking a shot in front of your face, and then it's a party or whatever. And so I haven't hung out with him in a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
But sometimes if the temptation's too much, we just have to throw the junk food out of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
I do think there's a shift in social circles, and one of the most beautiful things about doing the Undrunken podcast is I've collected these friends that I can relate to, right? Like oh, hi.
That's a big dog.
That's a very big dog. There's a giant German Shepherd walking up behind us. Your dogs are going to freak out in a second here. That was a fun little squirrel. I lost track of where we were at, but
all the friends that you've met through Undrunken.
Oh yeah, what a blessing, right? Because and I'm sure you've experienced this too. Like there's a shift that happens when people are consuming, and they go from being present and then just not there, and in a different way. I know through plant medicine it almost seems like you're not there, but it's more of a transgression than a regression.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm around people and the drinks are flowing, the shift is palpable.
Yeah.
In a different way. Have you had that experience?
100%. With psychedelics, it seems, especially with ayahuasca, it is an act and an art of embracing all that's within us. All of the pain, all the suffering, all the joy, all the love, all of the woundedness.
Everything that alcohol masks.
Yeah, exactly. And the alcohol is doing the exact opposite of that.
Sometimes the ugly does come out.
Yeah.
I think anger, really like deep sadness. Have you had any of those experiences with alcohol?
Yeah, like I think there were times in college and in later on where I would be at parties or at the club in New York, and after a couple of drinks I'd get really angry, and I think it's because we're all together but there's no contact. There's no community. It's so isolating to be in a club where everybody is just like bunched up and clanned up, and we're not embracing all the parts of each other, where there's aspects of us that we can't be in front of each other. And I think that's what was frustrating about that. I just was looking for love in the wrong place, in the wrong places. The love's here. So
anything else that you would want to share with my listeners
on alcohol, psychedelics, or any of the above? Or fair enough. I think that the question I have for myself and for people is, why would I think that if I numb myself to any part of this experience, then I'm going to dampen my ability to have the joyful parts too. And I never want to. I want to feel all the pain and all the hurt and everything, so that I can feel all that love too, because that's the real fruit of life right there.
All right. I like to do quick fire. You know what quick fire is?
No.
So are you familiar with the Wheel of Life? I'm going to do
Oh,
my
a
best to
little bit.
remember this. I don't have my notes in
Carlos
front of me.
Castaneda?
So
or
the
is this
version of
different?
the Wheel of Life that I do, there's 7 key areas of this wheel. And what I'd love to do is just ask you how being undrunken has affected these areas. And, you know, a sentence or two, some words, maybe a tangent. I love tangents.
Me too.
Yeah. How has being undrunken affected work?
It's more enjoyable.
How has being undrunken affected family?
I sense the love that's there.
How has being undrunken affected money?
I've saved a lot more of it.
How has being undrunken affected love life?
I've made real contact with some beautiful women. Body, mind, and soul.
How has being undrunken affected friends?
Gained the ones that really mattered.
Yeah. How has being undrunken affected spirituality?
It has blown the roof off of it.
And then the last spoke, my favorite. How has being undrunken affected self?
I'm ready to forgive myself more.
That's beautiful. So beautiful. How can we find you, Ben?
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I know you're family to me, so
oh,
I know
yeah,
how to
yeah,
find
yeah.
you. But how can our listeners find you and Field Guide 9?
Sure, it's just all lowercase, no spaces, fieldguide9.com. That's with the number 9.
Yeah.
Fieldguide9.com. You can email me at ben@fieldguide9.com. That's all lowercase, no spaces again. And yeah, that's
and coming soon to social media.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, social media. And you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the handles of Field Guide 9.
Wonderful.
And it's there for everyone.
I am so excited to share this with the Undrunken listeners. And I'm really, really grateful for you and for being here and for agreeing to talk with me recorded.
Thank you for being family. I feel it from you.
That's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to sharing more with you as we continue to explore being undrunken together with friends. I hope the Undrunken Podcast is helpful and inspiring to all of you out there. So if you liked this episode, please send it to a friend and help share these stories with more people.